We're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill that snuck through the Senate today. This thing is barely sneaking by on the skin of its teeth. Let's talk just a tiny bit before we get started, saying hello and doing all of our usual question and answers. I just want to talk a little bit about why this bill is not necessarily a done deal. There's a couple really interesting factors going on. First of all, a lot of chat just popped up for me, so let me put this on my computer so I can see you guys a little better. And mute the sounds. We don't have double feedback. First of all, the reason why this might still fail. Well, it's going to be a little bit delayed to begin with because there's some massive weather delays prohibiting many of the Republicans in the House from getting back to DC today. They might not be back. In fact, they're already warning there's going to be absence problems tomorrow. Remember, they wanted to vote on this bill tomorrow and get it to Trump's desk by Friday. That doesn't look like it's definitely gonna happen. Uh, let's see here. Oh, we got negativity already coming at us. But we'll save that for later. Here's what I really want to talk to you about. Okay, I'm gonna throw something out there. I'm gonna start with the big stuff. This is no done deal. House Republicans hate this bill. They may very well kill this bill because if they kill this right now, they know it goes to conference and they get a chance to negotiate what they really want. And Republicans can afford to lose 3 votes in the House. So for the negative Nellies out there going, "Oh, this is definitely going to pass," yeah, you feel that way, but you don't know that. So it's not passed till it's passed. And with this House of Representatives and this crazy majority, which is known for chaos, I wouldn't say anything passes until we get the final votes in. Till those votes are counted, nothing's definite. But the other thing I want to talk to you about, which I haven't written about yet, but I will in some detail, even if this thing passes, Republicans have set Democrats up to overturn this if they take back the House. Now, you might be saying, Jason, have you fallen and hit your head? Well, not today. But what I do know is this: if Democrats take back the House next November, Republicans have set this up so a lot of this is basically guttable before it ever takes effect. Remember, a lot of the really bad stuff, like the Medicaid cuts, they're afraid of, so they backloaded them into like 2026 and even after 2028. Now, if Democrats take back the House after the 2026 election, you better darn well believe the first thing those House Democrats are going to come after is getting rid of those Medicaid cuts. Well, how can they do that? They're just the House, you may say. Ah, but you remember the last time Democrats were in the minority and negotiated with Trump, and they beat the pants off of him on many issues to avoid a government shutdown and avoid, let's say theoretically, the debt limits increased, but they, for 2 years in this. I haven't read the final bill like everybody else that came out of the Senate, which isn't the final bill. Let's be clear about that. This is not the final bill. Mike Johnson wants to pass this as is through the House, which good luck to you, Mike Johnson, because there are already powerful committee chairs among the House Republicans going, this is a non starter for me. But if they change the bill and pass it, then it's got to go back to the Senate again, or it's got to go to conference. I happen to think this does end up in conference if it doesn't get through the House within the next 24 to 36 hours. This thing's just a disaster and there's too much disagreement. But what Democrats can do if they take back the majority is whenever there is an ability to I don't like the term, but let's call it as hostage take and negotiate with Trump, let's say on a government funding bill or whatever, the first thing they're coming for is getting rid of those Medicaid cuts. The very first thing. The Medicaid cuts and the ACA cuts. Ah, and part of me says Trump is never going to be on a ballot again. What does he care? So you might get mailing it in Trump if Democrats win back the House and his presidency is effectively over and the national attention is moving to the 2028 election. We've talked about all that before in previous conversations. But don't think for a minute because these cuts are backloaded till after the 2026 election and after the 2028 election that this is going to happen right away, or that this can't be changed if Democrats win back the House. The legislative battle will end when this is passed and signed into law, but it doesn't totally end, perhaps, until, and this thing might be dead and gone. If not in 20, after 20 Democrats win the House in 2026, after the 2020 election, if there's a Democratic president, this stuff is gone. So when they talk about, oh, this is forever and this is permanent and this and that, in legislative politics, in politics in general, nothing is forever. Always remember that. The only thing forever in this government are Supreme Court seats. Everything else can be changed. And I just saw before I came here and got online with you that there's already the provisions of the Trump's rollback of the ACA and some of the things he's doing are already being challenged in court. So, first things first, the House vote, don't take it for granted. It's not going to go fast or easy. Oh, it's not going to go quick, but if it passes and goes to Trump's desk, that is not the end of it. So please, 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 if I'm losing almost my 5-minute time limit I had for this to talk to you, please don't give up. Don't let people forget. Don't let your member of Congress or your senator forget, especially if they voted for this thing. Because remember, you have another job to do. It's like every American has another job to do. In 2026, empower the people that can fix this. I don't care if they're Republican. I don't care if they're Democrat. If they propose fixing this bill and getting rid of this stuff, they deserve your vote. Now, let's face it, a Trump's party, a Republican running in a general election isn't going to say that. But any candidate who's willing to do that deserves to be heard, deserves your support. With that, let's go and do a few hellos. By the way, I have a feeling that if this thing does pass, well, we'll probably end up sitting here doing another live real soon. I actually wanted to get down here sooner, but so much was in flux and it just took the Senate so damn long to grind through this. And that's another reason. If this thing gets kicked back to the Senate, whoa, baby, is there going to be a whole lot. If you thought there was chaos and dysfunction, here's what was happening last night. I'll try to summarize. Senate Republicans were fighting with Senate Republicans. Senate Republicans were fighting with the parliamentarian. Senate Republicans were fighting with House Republicans all at the same time. Nobody's happy with this bill. This bill's like a giant pile of trash. And I think if there's a window there to keep kicking this around, they're going to keep doing it. Because I don't think anybody wants to bite the bullet on this. Okay, let's back up a little tad here. Oh, I see Lillian. Hi, Lillian in Oklahoma. Lil. Hi, Lil. You prefer Lil? Okay, we'll call you Lil. Hi, Lil in Oakland, California. Kirk W says it's going to pass for the worst, but it is. Well, I'll tell you what, Kirk. Something is going to pass. They will not let these tax cuts die. Okay? So if this bill doesn't make it through, there's another variation that will. Okay? Okay, now, Marie K. Why did Trump want one bill? That's a good story. Trump wanted to outdo Joe Biden and put his entire agenda together for the year. This is why it's so important to him that he tries to upstage the 4th of July and sign this on the 4th of July. This is all a giant publicity stunt. Okay? Cindy Jesco. Hello, Cindy. Arlette DeLong. Hi, Arlette. Some of you guys' names are familiar. I know you're subscribers. Hey, just remember, if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing to the daily. That's Sarah. Sarah is the Generalissimo boss over there, and I help out and assist. And she does the long form, brilliant writing. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to post her post yesterday, which is one of my favorite things she's written in a while. Oh, we got the live chat going on the daily. See, I haven't looked at the top of the live daily for a long time here. Okay, here we go. I'm going to find it. Oh, let's see. I'm going a little further down. Up, warning for GOP. Many people in Trump country hate the big beautiful bill. This is a fascinating, fascinating story. I'm putting the link in the chat. We made sure not to paywall this one because we want you to see it. We want you to read it. Just remember, this lines up with what we're talking about as far as the consequences go for this thing. This is going to have some major, major serious consequences down the road, not just for the people it's impacting. The story's in the chat right now. I just put it up there. Please check it out. You can listen to me while you go read it. It's good stuff. That's from Sarah. If you are not a subscriber to the Daily, please consider subscribing. Even if you're a free subscriber, every reader helps. Okay, always remember that. We're small, independent. We're not a big company with lots of big people. We're not millionaires. We're not corporations. We're not affiliated with any political party. We're just people who are experts in our field, who are passionate about bringing you the news in this time, especially in this time. I've been doing this for oh my God, I've been doing this for 20 years. Uh, but I've been doing this for a while. Oh, there's Detroit voter Judith Sheldon. Hello, Judith. Welcome to the live chat. And I'm glad to see you were able to get back in. Hope your technical issues are resolved. Okay. Here we go. Let's do a couple of questions here. Oh, Tom's got some good stuff. Lil says they cut services for the middle and working class to give tax cuts for the rich. All caps here, so I'll emphasize it. Rich. That's very true. Bill Larson is here. Natalie Wagner's here. Rabbi Joshua Hammerman. Oh, hi, Rabbi Joshua Hammerman. I don't think I've seen you in a chat here before, but hello. Thank you and welcome. We're happy to have you. Audra R is here. Angela Heitzman. Angie from Minnesota. Oh, Angie from Minnesota. This is Jason from Pennsylvania. Hello. Each house passed it by one vote, Will in Oakland says. And she's right. That's why this is really, really important. That, by the way, don't give up. Don't keep your pressure. Don't stop your pressure if you're pressuring. Tom. Tom has a couple comments here. We're going to put them both together so that we can talk about them. He says, my representative is a Republican and won't hold a town hall because of this, so I hope to organize a protest. You know, Tom, there are some great resources. If you go over to, I think, Indivisible, they have some stuff. The No Kings folks, I think they might be aligned along with Indivisible, but the No Kings website has some things. Anyone who has organized a protest, please put some resources for Tom in the comments here in the chat, because I think Tom's got a great idea. Leon, hello, Leon. Ah, Wealthy Myers? Oh, that's an interesting name. Hello, I'm sorry if I mess up your name. Y'all know what to do. If you're not new, if you've been here before, please correct my pronunciation in the chat. I do not want to mess up anybody's name. Hello, Robert. Well, Robert is back with us again. Robert doesn't miss chat, and we are grateful for it. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Tom also asked, have they even read this bill? They keep saying they voted for it, but don't support it. That's very true. I'm laughing because I'll tell you what, I'm going to link to the Lisa Murkowski story I wrote because you guys, if you're not familiar, Lisa Murkowski basically came out and trashed this bill. And after she voted for it, and then said it needs to come back to the Senate for more work, we know it's not done yet. Which, if you didn't know, if you knew it wasn't done yet, why did you push it through? Which she was asked in the follow-up, thanks to a good reporter. And she said, I voted for it because there are tax breaks there my state needs. Okay, let's take a sec. Everybody composed now? Here's the one piece of information that Senator Murkowski did not disclose. The Trump tax cuts don't expire till the end of the year. She could have killed this thing right now. And there's almost a half a year to go yet before those tax cuts expire. And guess what? There are multiple legislative options out there for just extending the tax cuts. Because all the Republicans want to extend the tax cuts. There's a group of Democrats and Republicans in the House, moderates, that have come up with their own tax plan that are just waiting for this thing to collapse so they can make a deal toward the end of the year. That's where we are. So anybody who says, "Oh, I had to vote for this now because," isn't being honest. They're at least not being intellectually honest because they didn't have to vote for this now. They may have been pressured by business interests in their states or communities or even by the White House, but I know Murkowski wasn't pressured by the White House. I know anything that she felt compelled to do, she did it for Alaska because her relationship with the Trump White House isn't great to begin with. So I don't think any pressure would have much of an impact on her. So it had to be something at home. Or she just didn't want to be the one to kill the bill. That's another big thing. Nobody wants to be the one. Uh, Also, Mobilize and 5051. That's correct. 5051 is a really great resource for organizing a protest. Um, let's see now. Oh, Noel, Lois, and Joan have joined. Uh, M- Mary Kay, she's useless as a senator. Geez, some Dems want to extend tax cuts for the rich, Lil asked. And that's a good question. You know, here's the funny part. If they did a bipartisan bill, I'm not sure what that extension would look like. We would assume the tax cuts would be the same as they are now, but what if they weren't? What if it involves increasing taxes on the very rich or, you know, middle class tax cuts? We don't know. That's a really good question, though. So thank you for asking, Lil in Oakland. Tom says we need to clean out the House and Senate of anyone who supported this. These people are so out of touch. Yes, they are. And anyone who voted for this, as Bernie Sanders said, needs to be voted out in the next election. Will that happen? Because of some of these deep, deep, deep red districts? Probably not. Definitely not. But it's a great goal to aspire to. It's an absolutely great goal to aspire to. And let's see here. I don't remember if I put the Murkowski story in the chat or not. I went over here and copied the link. I don't see it there. Let me throw it in there. And here we are, guys. Okay. Now, there are folks helping out putting on empty chair town halls for those whose legislators have not had one. Angela Heitzman says, yes, that is correct. Gabe Hoffman is here. I think we've seen Gabe here before in the live streams. By the way, I really appreciate all you guys coming in. Uh, I'm trying to figure out the best time to do these. It seems like later in the day works for a lot of people. Mornings are nice, but not everybody can make it in the morning. Like if you work, if you're busy, I do understand. So we're trying to figure out the best way to do this. Laura and three others have joined. Joan Zachary. Oh, Sean Colarossi. I hope I said your last name right, Sean. We've never actually discussed your last name. Great piece, Sarah, by the way. Sean used to write with Sarah and I at Politicus USA. Sean's an old friend. Sean has his own Substack. You might want to check that out. It's well worth it. Let me see if we click on Sean. Yep, we can click on Sean's profile and get right to his Substack. So you can feel free to do that and keep listening to me if the window will stay open. So let's see. This bill, remember, it's not. Suze says hi. Hi, Suze. Um, this bill is not a done deal. I I have had some really big doubts about whether or not it would actually make it. They would make the July 4th deadline. It seems like Johnson is going to try, but it wouldn't surprise me. Like if this thing goes sideways, that they end up blowing way past that July 4th deadline. I think the worst thing for Republicans would be if they blow past the July 4th deadline and they go home for 4th of July recess and they get an earful about this bill. Because even if they try to hide, even if they don't hold town halls, I think you'll see protests outside of all their offices back home. There's their main offices and their satellite offices in their district. This is going to get ugly if they don't get this done fast. Remember, the longer this bill sticks around, the more people hate it. I've linked to this story from Sarah about 47 billion times, but because I'm a little biased toward I likes the polling, as they say. Here's the story on the polling and just how much people hate this bill. And when I say hate this bill, I know that's kind of exaggeration. But it's actually very true in this case. When you have a piece of legislation with a 29% approval rating, people really hate this bill. Please check it out. Again, something else you need to go. Oh, Detroit voter has a good link to the House.gov to rally these Congress people. People who say they won't matter and that Republican voters will go along with it regardless are underestimating the massive thermostatic backlash that will ensue when people thought they were going back to 2019 with Trump. Gabe Hoffman, that is an amazingly great point. Wow, is that a great point, Gabe? Because, one of the things the polling showed, and remember, this was everybody thinks because Trump has propagated this myth of the blowout, and even Democrats kind of it seeps in and they start to think that the election was a lot more lopsided than it was, even subconsciously. This was a close election last year. And remember, there is a significant number of voters. These are not high information voters. These are not people who are locked in and watching cable news every day or following news sources. These are people that kind of, the kind, you got friends and family like this. They kind of zoom in and they maybe watch a debate, maybe they pay attention for a little bit, and then they say, "Oh, I'm just gonna vote for this person." And that's what they do. Well, those people were deeply swayed by Trump's idea that if you just did the magic thing of voting for him, everything was gonna go back to the way it was before COVID. There is a massive amount of cultural yearning for pre-COVID times. That's why prices and inflation resonate so much. That's why gas prices resonate so much. People want to go back to pre-COVID. Now, as we all know, when you have a catastrophic event like a global pandemic, there's no going back. You're not going to go back to the way things were before. You hopefully will be able to evolve and overcome and do something better. But the research shows when you have an event like this that happens to the world, it takes a decade. It's going to take 10 years for everything to settle from the pandemic, roughly. And what Republicans are doing right now with this piece of legislation is something that will set America back. It will make America's recovery even harder. So please remember that this is not over. Trump wants you to think it's over. Republicans want you to think it's over. This is not a fait accompli, if I get all fancy for a minute. This is not a done deal. You all need to stay engaged. And I know anyone who shows up and is listening to the sound of my voice right now is an engaged person. You're highly engaged people. You're big news consumers. You know what's going on, or you have a pretty good idea. 3 votes. 3 votes in the House could sink this. I would love to tell you that it's going to be the moderates in New York that might sink this because they are under the most pressure. And believe me, their seats are endangered right now. A lot of those folks, if not all of them, there are currently Republicans representing districts in New York that won their seats in the last election or the last 2022 and the 2020 midterm. They are endangered and they know it. So they could fade away. The House Freedom Caucus hates this bill. Any of the far right conservatives can fade away. Now, I said earlier that the difference is 3 votes. Remember, Thomas Massie, a representative from Kentucky, is a diehard no. He's an already committed no. He is going to vote no, which means the margin for the House is really 2 votes. It passed by 1 vote last time. If these House Republicans in the far right think that they can get a better deal, as Detroit voter just said, what about the Freedom Caucus folks? If they think they can get a better deal by shooting this thing down and kicking it back to the Senate or going to conference, that's what they're going to do. I will tell you right now, this has nothing to do with the good of the country, nothing to do with doing what's right. There are so many strange coalitions, and I say strange because it's odd to have so many differing points of view from the ideological spectrum all unified against one bill. You got the fiscal conservatives and the Elon Musk faction who actually hate this bill because it's cruelty that is not deficit neutral. They want they want less deficit spending. Then you have some on the far right who want even more cuts. Then you have the middle and a whole bunch. Let me think, somewhere between 16 to 20 House Republicans that are really worried about these Medicaid cuts and how it will impact their district, because impacting their district impacts their jobs. And by jobs, I mean keeping their jobs. So and then you have the Democrats and the left that just absolutely despise this bill with every fiber of their being. So there's a lot of groups out there that really hate this bill for a lot of different reasons. And all it takes is one. And I'm absolutely stunned that nobody yet within the House has kind of come together, put a small group together across all these concerned, disinterested groups to knock this thing down and send it back. I keep saying it. Even if this bill gets stopped right now, something is going to pass. They're not going to let those tax cuts die. So what they're going to pass something. The goal should be to make sure that what they pass does not gut Medicaid and SNAP. That should be the goal. You know, the tax cuts, and one of the grave errors of the last time Democrats had control of the government, and they did the middle class tax cuts and everything else. One of the things that I find to be a big error, policy wise, they did not repeal those Trump tax cuts and replace them with something else. I know, repeal and replace, right? Obamacare. But uh, they could have. They should have. Maybe it wouldn't have gotten through the Senate, but again, if you're using reconciliation, they had the votes to get it through reconciliation. But we're not going to live in the past. But the next time Democrats have power, this needs to be a priority, because they could replace those Trump tax cuts with something much, much, much better. I There has been a lingering debate about whether or not people will really get the message about this bill and what it will take. I would say that a lot of people have gotten the message if the bill has a 29% approval rating. I would also say that I think there's a lot of people that are going to support this bill out of loyalty to Trump no matter what. And that 30%, they're never moving. They're going down with the ship. They're just they're I don't want to say hopeless for fellow human beings, but yeah, the political situation is pretty hopeless with those people. What I'm curious about is if this bill should become law. JD Vance now owns this because JD Vance broke the tie in the Senate. JD Vance is really, really, really trying to become the Republican nominee. He's behind closed doors. He's trying to wrangle all the groups. He's trying to get himself in line to win this nomination before the primary even starts. Can you imagine if 20 million people lose healthcare and food assistance and JD Vance is the Republican nominee? First of all, I think Republicans are going to get rolled if JD Vance is the nominee. Ah, Rebecca B says, can the 30% overpower the rest of us? No, no, they can't. That's the interesting thing about this. And I think the power is really making itself shown in special elections, and it's going to show up immensely in the midterm. And before anybody, because we answer this, I think, every week, Trump can't stop the midterm election. Okay, so don't worry about that. That's not going to happen. Um, I brought up JD Vance as president. Oh, I shouldn't have done. We got a hotspot here. Gabe Hoffman, a good point that if Trump ends up croaking before his term is up and JD Vance takes over, he's basically left holding the bag for all of Donald's disasters. That is so true. You know, I don't think Kamala Harris was treated fairly at all. But you can see the natural way that people immediately tried to link her to Biden. Uh, that's what happens when you're the vice president. They did it to Al Gore with Bill Clinton. And if you look back in recent modern history of vice presidents that get stuck with presidents in their own campaigns, it doesn't go well for them. It doesn't go well for them. Oh, there it is. Gene Cinderella, there's our weekly midterms question. Does anyone besides me think there won't be midterms? Would they have done all this just for a 2-year ride? Yes. Yes, they would. And yes, there will be midterms. Don't even think about that because I will go through the structure. You guys will join me on the chat every week. We'll go through this real quick. The midterms, no K. Smith, they cannot just stop having elections. The elections are controlled at the state level. Every single election is a state overseen election. Every district or municipality controls their own elections. There's nothing they can do to stop elections. Will we trust the voting? Oh, there goes my watch. We should trust the voting because the voting is fine. Um, Democrats have won. If Republicans wanted to halt all elections, why would they let all the elections happen so far this year that they're losing? You see, they're not just going to unroll a plan to stop all elections next year. If you're an authoritarian and you want to grasp power and take over everything, you don't say, you know what, I'm going to give it a couple years, then I'm going to halt all elections. No, you cut that stuff off. You cut it off at the knees because then people are conditioned so that when the 2-year election comes around or the 4-year election comes around, people go, oh, okay, there's no more elections. Yeah, Gabe Hoffman says, a lot of people seriously underestimate how hard it would be to completely rig elections on a completely national scale with how decentralized everything is. That's exactly it. It's a decentralized system. Yeah, I know, K. Smith. They think Elon did something with the voting machines in swing states. They're finding anomalies in the voting. I've looked at the data. I think a lot of the anomalies they're seeing are because of turnout discrepancies, not necessarily voter manipulation. So just, you know, don't draw any conclusions. And by the way, if there was some vast national conspiracy to rig all the swing states, do you really think everybody would stay quiet? This is Elon Musk and Donald Trump we're talking about. Do you really think that it wouldn't be posted everywhere? They wouldn't be bragging about rigging the election? Look what we got away with. It doesn't make sense. So we don't want to get too far over the edge here, but we get this question every week. So we'll keep answering it every week until the elections happen and everybody can feel better. I understand the anxiety. I think it's a great question. If I didn't think it was a good question, I wouldn't keep answering it. Um, you know what states are we doing locally? Will we have elections, but the results not reflect our votes? The states aren't messing with the votes. Okay, just enough. They're not messing with the votes in some elections and not others. Okay. This happens every time a party loses an election. I've seen Democrats do this over and over again for every lost election. Um, y'all got to understand, it's not rigging so much as it is voter intimidation, voter suppression, changing the election laws to make it harder for people to vote, of certain kinds of people to vote, certain demographics to vote. That's the quote unquote rigging that's going on. That's all legal. Okay. It's not. Yeah. Yeah. I know what Trump said at his rally. You'll never have to vote again. He was just, I've come to believe that Donald Trump doesn't even know what he's talking about most of the time. But I believe he was saying that he will fix everything if you vote for him once. Okay. Now, maybe they don't have to rig the elections. Maybe just rig the posting of the results totals via technology. Um, You know, no, that doesn't work either. Because the problem is you can't rig all the results of all the elections. You can't. It just doesn't work that way. Technologically wise, it doesn't work that way. Is this country different from other countries where autocrats have taken over in terms of midterms, etc.? Yes, Tom. The electoral system is actually different. We are a country that has as you said, decentralized system that is locally controlled. Autocrats tend to flourish in countries where elections are nationally and centrally controlled. Anywhere where they can get their hands on total election power. The beautiful thing about our system is we have elections dispersed locally and staggered time wise. So, yeah, our system is unique and it makes it a lot harder to mess with it, which is why you have billionaires dumping dark money in, which is why you have voter suppression efforts, which is why you have states changing election laws to make it harder for people to vote. All this stuff is legal. It shouldn't be. Let's be honest. Um, but it is. And that is how elections get swayed in this country. So, don't think about some vast, shady conspiracy with vote rigging. If you want to fight this, there's lots of things you can do to fight this because they're using legal tactics right in front of our face. Do you realize how much money Elon Musk spent? Elon Musk spent $5 million just targeting a few districts in suburban Philadelphia for Trump with misinformation and voter suppression tactics. And Musk repeated this again and again and again and again and again and again and again in swing states and districts throughout the 7 swings. That's how they did it. They misinformed, they intimidated, they disenfranchised, and they discouraged. Okay? They didn't have to rig voting machines. That's a lot of work. They simply bent the process by making sure that the people who might vote against them found it more difficult to vote or had less incentive or motivation to vote. Why can't we get Democrats to run on overturning Citizens United? Tom asked. This is a really good question because it's pointless. If Democrats overturn Citizens United, here's what happens. It goes to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court voids the law that they just passed. How do I know this? Since the Buckley versus Vallejo decision in the 1970s, the Supreme Court has been overturning campaign finance reform laws that Congress passes. Overturning Citizens United is not going to stand up in this conservative Supreme Court majority. Democrats can run on it. Democrats could even get total control of the government and do it. But the Supreme Court's going to just overturn it, put the same system back in place. We got some questions here. So that's why they don't run on it, because until there's a liberal majority on the Supreme Court, this whole thing's going to continue. And who knows how long it's going to take. But some of those guys are in their 70s, and if we can just get the Democrats back into power, maybe the stars align and there'll be some good seats left. Okay, here we go. Oh, Gabe points out, and Musk's preferred candidate lost in Wisconsin even after reporting millions of dollars. Uh, Lil in Oakland says, I'm hearing that nonpartisan voter registrations hurt the Dems, letting C3 orgs do it and not the party. Yeah, there's some real, the independent organizations that do voter registration do a lot of really good work. They do, in some ways, the Lord's work for democracy. The problem is, though, the quality varies, and you're not exactly sure what you're getting with some of those organizations. It's better for political parties, no matter which one, Republican or Democrat, if they have a good voter registration and turnout machine of their own. It's not really as beneficial if they turn it over to independent organizations, or if you, like Ron DeSantis, let a super PAC run your campaign like he tried in 2024. League of Women Voters, Rebecca B says they're a great organization. They are a great organization and true patriots. People who, honest to God, live, breathe, and love this democracy. Uh, Absolutely fantastic. Okay, let me see if I missed anybody here. Oh, Earl Brownlee, Charles Hardy. Hello to both of you. Alan Moore is here. Hello. Oh, you guys are just so awesome. I am so thrilled. I see some subscribers that are new faces that have finally joined us. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys talking to each other in the chat and helping each other out because that's what this is. Heidi Hall has joined. Hello, Heidi Hall. Lorna and Marie are here as well. Two separate people didn't come together. May have, I don't know. But they're listed as two separate names. I really think that you guys have brought up some great points. Let's switch back over to the big beautiful bill here for a minute. This is going to be a crazy couple days. Okay. Just be ready for it. There's going to be ups and downs and twists and turns. If there's one thing we know about the House Republican majority after all this time, it is that they are completely dysfunctional. So we can't trust anything they're going to maybe do. Maybe they're going to kill the bill. Maybe they're going to all line up and pass it. Now, being that this is like herding, it's already from herding cats. It's like herding rabid cats who have been unleashed on society and left to fend for themselves for years and then brought back indoors. It's worse than herding cats. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I will make an educated guess that this thing either squeaks through again by one vote or it spectacularly goes down in flames on the House floor in the middle of the night just so I can never sleep again. Because, let's face it, the House loves doing this stuff in the middle of the night. Like the Senate was so much more refined. They were like, this is taking too long. We're going to start again tomorrow morning. The House is like, we're going to wear you all down. And eventually you're going to get so tired and hungry and desperate, you'll just vote for anything. That's an actual tactic. And that's what I think Mike Johnson may try to do again. Hi, Earl. Nice to see you. Sven Robert Silburn. Hi, Sven Robert Silburn. When the vote is done, do these weasels leave town for how long? Think they will have any constituent contact? Okay, Lil. They will leave town. They have a 4th of July recess scheduled. I didn't check the calendar. I'm not sure how long that recess is. It's usually at least a week, maybe more. Will they have any do I think they'll have any constituent contact? Oh, I think the Democrats will definitely have constituent contact. The Democrats are going to be all over talking to their constituents after this vote. I think if this bill goes down or if it goes through, Republicans are going to go and put themselves back in the witness protection program. You're not going to see them interact with voters, especially in swing districts, at all. Like, at all. They are going to hide. So probably until next November, if we're going to be totally honest. So, and some of you guys, like, I know if any of you live in Pennsylvania, House District 10, I believe that's Scott Perry's district, you guys haven't had a town hall in years and years. And if any of you else have a Republican rep and you'd like to name them in the chat that has not had a town hall, I believe Tom has one. Please put them in the chat. Let's point them out. I think it's important to kind of keep a list of these people. Because if you're gonna take healthcare and food away from 20 million Americans, you should look the people you're taking food and healthcare away from in the eye. And you should tell them, I'm the one who voted to make sure that you and your family go hungry today and for the foreseeable future. So that's where we are. And remember, this is why the 2026 election is so important. Once Democrats regain power. Oh, I think the great idea, Tom asked, how can we force interactions or shame them? I think the great idea of holding town halls and protests, first of all, you can protest outside their offices peacefully in public places. Don't want anybody to get arrested. Don't want to get hauled off. Make sure you're in public. Make sure you're peaceful. But you can also organize events to hold town halls with empty chairs. And believe you me, from the numbers in the video I've seen, people will show up. They will show up and make their voices heard in these districts. So and you can also honestly get a small group of people together and just bombard those offices with communications. Yeah. Um, Detroit Voter is a protest expert. So she suggests putting signs on their doors and windows, walk back and forth in front of their office. I mean, you don't have to be a big group to do this. The next No Kings protest is scheduled for July 17th, Gabe says. And you know what, guys? On July 17th, we will be having full coverage. So yeah, Tom, if you have a congressman that's not showing up, you might want to see if there's a No Kings protest scheduled in your area. If there's not, you might want to set one up, even if it's you and four friends and family members, you know? Yeah. Well, Will mentioned you gotta juxtapose the Bebos extravaganza wedding with what they're doing to the rest of us. If Bezos can pay for the wedding, he can pay for tax, he can pay his taxes. That's correct. So, by the way, Sarah wrote a piece on that. I should probably go find that too while I'm out here, and you guys can just read that as well. Here we are. I'll see what's on. I'm the one who set up the front page on the Daily here, and I'm still looking to see where some of this stuff is. It's really not good form. Oh, look. Is she all buggy? Okay, here we go. By the way, Sarah and the Daily is great to subscribe to. I help out and write over there. I'm at politicususa.com. So is Sarah. That's a great place to come and get your news headlines, little bits of knowledge. Um, Hopefully a lot of knowledge. But we try to at least make sure you walk. I try to always make sure you walk away with something every single time. Okay, proton up there we go. Boy, I just cannot see this story. I don't know where I put it. Um, so I need to actually find this, but I will do that another time. Now, you guys, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We're here to answer some questions. We're here to not ever have to leave you guys wondering why didn't you get to my question? Why didn't you talk about that? I'll do my best to get to everybody. I'm surprised so many of you guys showed up. I had a feeling maybe you felt maybe a little down after this vote in the Senate. Robert, 10 years reading Politicus USA, always learn something. Thank you, Robert. And if I could make you head of our advertising for Politicus USA in the Daily, I'm sure Sarah and I would. Okay, let's see. You guys are organizing your own protest in here. That is awesome. Now, here's the thing. I would really keep a serious eye on two groups in the House. I would keep an eye on the Freedom Caucus. Um, it was not encouraging for the fate of this bill that Ralph Norman, the head, I believe, of the House Budget Committee, and doing this off the top of my head, so I'm not sure, uh, he said this bill was the Senate bill was a non-starter for him. I would also keep an eye on the Freedom Caucus. Norman's part of the Freedom Caucus, and the moderates. The moderates in districts that Biden won, there is there were 18 of them, and if they get scared enough and they want to save their seats, you could see a few of them break away. As I wrote yesterday or today on Politicus USA, the strategy here, Trump likes to separate from the herd and attack one Republican that defies him. So, House Republicans learned in the last fight over a bill with Trump to do it in groups. Trump isn't going to come after a whole group. So, watch out for not just one Republican breaking away and saying, I'm a no. Watch out for two or three or four or five. If this thing falls apart, it's going to fall apart fast. If it makes it through, it's going to be very, very slow. Moderates. Oh, yes. Here, I'll tell you what, Miss Detroit voter, I will um pull up right now our handy dandy list of Republican districts that Biden won. Okay, here we go. Let's see here. It's 2020. Let's see what we got here. Okay, we got about, let's see, I'm having a hard time pulling up our handy dandy list. Okay. Okay. Republicans won 5 double-digit Biden districts. Okay. The new crossover list. Okay. Here we go. Let me make sure the date on this list because I want something from this year. No, that's from 2022. We do not want that. Let's see here. We'll go 2025. See here. I have a lot of lists here. I just need. Whoop. Oh yeah. Harris district. There's not that many Harris crossover districts. Uh, 13 Democrats won districts in areas that Trump carried. Only 3 Republicans won in districts that Harris carried. So let's see. House crossover district list. You know what? I'm going to see if I can just. Oh, okay. Here we are. Trump district Democrats, Harris district Republicans. Okay. 3 of them. Don Bacon is retiring. Don Bacon in Nebraska, Mike Lawler in New York, and Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania. Those are 3. Don Bacon announced his retirement. These are Republicans in districts that Harris won. Okay. That's enough people right there, along with Massey, to kill that bill. Now, the Democrats in districts that Trump won, they're pretty much locked in against this bill. We don't have to worry about that. But there are a larger number of Republicans in districts that Biden won in 2020 that are still in swing seats. So let's see, there were 19 of them. So let's see here. I'll see if I can put this together real quick. This may not be the greatest list. I'm not sure how this is going to transfer, but we will see. Oh, another great question. If we don't live in those states you just mentioned, is there anything we can do as non-constituencies politicians? Yes. Yes, 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 yes. There's a lot you can do. You can still reach out to these members of Congress. Let me see here. Yeah, this is going to be, yeah, that's a little bit of a messy chart, but you can see some of the people on that list that are within the chat that are people that are in crossover districts. Now, what you can do is, honestly, there is if I can find it or think of it off the top of my head, there are even organizations that phone bank in these districts for non-members. So what they'll do is they'll connect non-residents to people in the district and help them advocate. I'm not sure if that's organized through this bill because everything is so slipshod, but it is something that definitely happens and something that's happened in the past. So I am thinking that if you don't live in those districts, pound the table, really pound the table hard for those people to vote no. And believe me, these are swings. One thing you can do is tell them you don't live in the district if you want. They might try to disregard you, but then tell them you will be supporting their opponent in a primary or general election. That will get their attention. That will get their attention very quickly. And that should send a little bit of fear through the office because what scares politicians more than public protest? Donating to their opponent. donating their opponent really scares them. And by the way, I'll do this again because I always, always like to bring this up when it comes to donating. We all get bombarded with text messages, with emails, with endless fundraising pleas. And a lot of those fundraising pleas come from non-candidate organizations. There are some really good ones, but remember, when you donate not directly to the candidate, what happens is that organization takes a percentage of your donation, and that donation never makes it. That part of that donation never makes it to that candidate. So if you want to directly support, like a lot of us don't have a lot of money. So if you're coming up with $20, $25 to give to a candidate that you really believe in, you want all of that money to go to that candidate. You don't want that candidate to get $2 and some organization gets $18. I mean, I should hope not. If you want to donate, which is why candidates are always telling you to go to their website to donate directly to the candidate. Uh, just always donate directly to the candidate. Don't mess around with any of these organizations with big budgets and promote. Do lots of videos on social media, or maybe they have a super PAC or a group. I'm not saying they don't do good work. I mean, the Lincoln Project does some really cool stuff, right? But let's be honest. The Lincoln Project didn't exactly sway any voters in the last election. Uh, you know, if you're going to donate, take that donation to an opponent, especially if it's an opponent in a swing district. Believe me, they're going to really appreciate that donation. Take that donation directly to the candidate. It'll do so much more good than it does by rerouting it through 2 or 3 organizations, and the candidate gets a share or $5 out of 20 or whatever. That's something you can do. Uh, yeah, the Lincoln Project. I like the Lincoln Project. They just weren't effective in mobilizing voters because guess what? The people they were talking to, oh, like Midas Touch started out of the PAC, right? The problem is the people that Midas Touch are talking to, the people that Lincoln Project are talking to, they're already voting. They're hardcore. Most of the time they're talking to Democrats or independent leaning Democrats. You know, they're they're not talking to the people that need to be reached. The real swing people aren't following any of those big organizations that are really embedded and involved with fundraising and candidates and stuff like that. Um, yeah, Lil says like their stuff, but they are in an echo chamber. Yeah, they are. And yeah, they're preaching to the choir. Um, it wasn't, believe me, down the left doesn't have a huge media sense or outlet to begin with. And they are making a load of money. Cajun Blue says, yes, they are. They're making a ton of money. And I have no problem with that. I mean, it's not like they're just sitting on their backsides and doing nothing. I mean, that's fine. But if you have to decide where you're going to put your money and you want it to have an impact, then you want it to go directly to a candidate who could potentially win, who could potentially flip the House or Senate, who could change a lot of this bad policy. That's the whole point. So I always say I'm not going to go for an hour. I've been talking to you guys. This time just flies by when we talk together, and I really, really like talking to you. So please, I can't suggest it enough. If you are not a subscriber, because I do these free for everybody right now, please subscribe. Please go over, subscribe. If you are a subscriber, oh my goodness, thank you. You're absolutely amazing. You are the reason why we're able to do this. Here is the link to the daily. I will label them this time. The daily right here. Here's the link to the daily. Boom. Here is next up, Leviticus USA. You can read both of us. Like I said, one of them, the daily, is a more long form. We go a bit deeper. The daily is if you want something to really sink your teeth into, Sarah's writing's got it. She's got you covered. Uh, if you are looking to say, "Hey, what's going on today?" and maybe I'd like to know about some stories that the corporate media, the traditional press, is not covering, Politicus USA is your place to be. You can come here every day. The subscriptions, the daily is $6. Politicus USA is $6 a month. And my lord, I mean, we produce a lot of content for your $6. You are going to get more than your $6 worth. I don't even want to think about how much per post that $6 is because on Politicus, I try to do 4 to 6 posts a day. The daily is a usually a minimum of 2 posts. We're trying to do 3 a day for the daily. That's that's a lot of news content for your money for a very small amount of money. I'm not rich. I know you guys aren't rich. Maybe some of you guys are rich, and if you are, great, happy for you. Uh, so it's very important that you get value for wherever you decide to put your dollars on Substack. And I think you'll find a lot of value in our work. Hopefully, but I'm biased and I write it, so I'm not exactly an objective observer of this content. So Lil says about the Democrats, wish they'd have been more effective with their own before Donald Trump got into power. I think everybody has some like, man, if we could do that over again. The real kick in the teeth was Cinema and Manchin killing Build Back Better or watering it down to the point of ineffectiveness. That's that was the real. If you want to look at the because Biden and the Democrats have been on a real legislative winning streak and hot streak, and then Build Back Better got halted, and then before you knew it, the Republicans had taken back the House, and everything stopped. So that is that is kind of how it went down in the Biden administration, and then let's just not even. We could talk about 2024. I don't think Joe Manchin's actually a Democrat. Being that I live, you know, hours, not even that far from the West Virginia border, less than 2 hours. He is, but he is an old school conservative Democrat, and frankly, Manchin by the end was so terrified of losing his seat, and he saw his entire state change, and he was completely surrounded by Republicans that he went through some kind of really unfortunate metamorphosis by the end. Um, Manchin at one point in time was actually really effective. He was a good governor for West Virginia, and for a very long time, he was a good senator for West Virginia. Toward the end, as with many legislators who stay for a long time in Congress, the last chapters weren't as very good. So that is where we stand. If you guys have any questions about the big beautiful bill, go ahead and fire them away at me. I'll give you a second here to write them up. We can we can do a few more hellos. Oh, Jane Loderhose. Hello. Yolanda Rios. Hello. Sharon Parkle. I hope I said that right. Hello, Sharon. God, you guys are awesome. Mickey Diamond. Hello. Ryan Flannery. Hi, Ryan. Wow, it's so much fun. I like seeing new names every time we do this. It's never the same bunch. Now, that could be because maybe I don't advertise these chats enough before they happen. Um, So some people might not know, but I think that, hopefully other people see the topic, they catch on, they say, "Hey, I want to check these people out." And we're all really glad you did, and we welcome you here. Sean Hurst is here. Dottie is here. Dottie has quite a message for us. Dottie says, "I will never donate to any candidate because that's the problem. A candidate has a platform and that is what you put them in. Elections are giant grift period. Locally every 2 years, nationally every 4 years. And seriously, it shouldn't be about money or advertising. It's their promises that should be important. Yes, that's true. And the whole campaign finance system is terrible and getting worse. And there are a lot of people who make a lot of money in elections, whether your party, Democratic or Republican, wins or loses. I mean, I saw some statistics that the billions of dollars Kamala Harris raised, the bulk of it went to four consulting firms. That means a lot of people. Oh, we have an off topic question. A lot of people made a lot of money, even though Kamala Harris lost. Cajun Blue has an off topic question. Is that allowable? Cajun Blue, all questions are allowable. So fire away. Helen A. and Tamara Kranick have joined. R.E. McDowell is here. Hello, R.E. McDowell. Joe is here. Hello, Joe. Garrett Holmes. Hello, Garrett Holmes. I really appreciate you stopping by. Doesn't that make those who profit either way kind of like a bookie? I've never thought of it that way, but yes. Um, Not much is being made of the 150 billion in the bill for immigration issues, including detention centers. Is this contributing to the urgency? Yeah, 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 Robert, it is. That was from Robert, by the way. Um, there, I uh, let me see if I can put this. Homeland Security, ICE, and immigration have been saying they're out of money for months. Um, So yeah, they want that money fast. And there's a lot of people like Lindsey Graham that are really trying to push it through quickly and trying to get this done as fast as possible. Okay, Cajun Blues question that was off topic. I'm devastated about the concentration camp. I'm really glad you called it that. The Alligator Alley camp, I think they're calling it in Florida. Do you think we're just going to make this normal? Where is the resistance to this? I think the problem is that this isn't a national federal camp. This is something Ron DeSantis has set up in Florida. I think that there will be more resistance to this, judging from past immigration tragedies in this country. Remember, there was no resistance to putting kids in cages in 2017 in the last Trump term in Texas until the pictures started emerging of what was happening, until it started being reported on what was happening. So there's going to be a gap in when people find out about what's going on about this and what's happening. Oh yeah, Joe Arpaio will points out. Joe Arpaio in Arizona did do tents there, and I think that's kind of what this whole. By the way, this Florida fiasco is costing the state $450 million. Cajun Blue. We have images of what it looks like now. It looks like dog cages. Wait until people start dying there. I hate to say it, but you know what it takes to get the corporate media interested. Wait until tragic things start happening. Then there'll be outrage. I do think that what Florida has done since Abbott and DeSantis are so linked at the hip when it comes to cruel, grandstanding immigration tactics, I think it's going to spill over into Texas. Abbott's already been trying. Remember how he tried to kill migrants with buoys in the water that were spikes, so that they and tried to make it impossibly dangerous for people to cross to get into Texas. Um, yeah, I think this is gonna get real bad. Tom has said, yes, you do need to give us a heads up so we can get here and don't want to miss it. Oh, thanks, Tom. I need this for my mental health. Gutted about what's happening with ICE. I'm gonna tell you guys something. Razor wire. Yeah, yes, Abbott in Texas, razor wire. How could I forget that? Um, I'm gonna tell you something. This ICE nonsense is gonna really, really get shut down if Democrats take back the House. This whole thing's gonna get exposed. This is why, and I must have said this at least 6 times in this chat so far, it is so important. No matter what happens, no matter what the Republicans throw at you right now, You got to make this a 2-year presidency. You got to empower Democrats. And remember, if Democrats don't follow through, if they do not do what you want them to do, then you put the pressure on them. You show them the same ferocity you're showing the Republicans right now. But before you can expect Democrats to do anything more than what they're capable of doing, they need to be empowered. And you hold the key to their empowerment. Okay. Let's go back here a little bit. We got some stuff you guys want to talk about. Oh, alligator Alcatraz. Yeah, this is every time you think they can't get any more horrific with the way they treat our fellow human beings, they do. And by the way, this would all be solved if we would just create a real immigration reform, have real immigration reform. Um, People that can, I'll say it. Everybody says it. Anybody that commits crimes here illegally should be gone. But the fact that we let this policy fester for decades and we've done nothing is how we got into this current situation. So, eventually we're going to have this is an extreme action by the Trump administration. We might have an extreme reaction when the power shifts. And all this stuff, like the Supreme Court giving Trump more leeway with the lower courts. And, the presidential immunity, as long as it's an official act, all this stuff, it's going to blow back on Republicans when the Democrats in the White House. How many of Joe Biden's executive actions were rejected because of nationwide injunctions from right-wing district courts? Just think about that for a minute. Cajun Blue says they don't want to miss these chats either. That's great. I will try to give more of a heads up. The right-wing media is making everything look like it'll be wonderful, like it always does. Some people, especially those who never watch the news or read, don't know what harm it does. Suzanne, yeah, I mean the Garcia case. Until that man was abducted off the street in Maryland, everything was going along very smoothly. I mean, but that broke through the consciousness. Even people who aren't following the news were like, hey, wait a minute. We don't think people should just be kidnapped and sent to El Salvador. That's a bridge too far for us. How is this not illegal? What's going on with alligator Alcatraz? It is a violation of international law, but who's going to enforce it? I'm baffled. How is this not all against the law and the Constitution? A lot of their cuts do not take hold until 2029, Mom Becca says, and Mom Becca is right. And that's why Democrats have a chance to reverse this if they win back the House and then start putting the hammer to Trump by threatening to not fund the government. I really think House Democrats should strip all funding from the executive branch, strip all funding from the White House. It will be terrible. And it has started. So disgusted with my family for laughing at what is happening. What can I do? Valerie, are you talking about alligator Alcatraz? If you are, really what has to happen here is everybody needs to understand what's really going on. That's what needs to happen. Raise awareness, one person at a time. You have to raise awareness. Because the media isn't going to catch up to this for a while. Oh, Yolanda Rios, I missed your question, Yolanda. Let's go back up. We need to educate voters regarding when the Med-Cal cuts, etc., become effective. Do they become effective after the midterms to blame Democrats? No, they have set them up so they don't really kick in until after the 2028 election in a lot of ways. Now, the ACA stuff starts happening next year, but the ACA stuff is a smaller portion of what they're doing. Out of the $1.1 trillion in healthcare cuts, $1 trillion of it is Medicaid. But remember, the states are already saying that they cannot wait that long. They can't wait till 2029. So they're going to have to start throwing people off the program and getting their programs changed and ready and benefit cuts or whatever, if you're going to keep it, way before then. So people are going to be impacted a lot sooner than when the feds decide to kick the cuts in. Just please remember that. Ah, strip funding from the White House. Sign me up. Would Democrats really do that? I think, given the corruption of this administration, Tom, yeah, I think House Democrats would do that. Um, people, oh, we got a good we got a comment up here. We got to gauge back up to you real quick. Boy, you guys are just full of it. Mom Becca, people here in Hawaii are having to self-deport. A Marine Corps vet who won the Purple Heart has had to leave because he committed some crime years ago and is worried about being grabbed by ICE. That's a lot of it. The fear, the intimidation, forcing people to self-deport, scaring people. That's what a lot of these actions are meant to do. Judy Randall has joined. So yeah, there's a lot of different stuff that can be done. Right now, I'm gonna look right back to the big beautiful failure here. Um, this fight doesn't end. The next couple days, watch C-SPAN. You will learn more from watching C-SPAN in the next 2 days than you will learn from watching cable news. There's going to be a lot of movement going on, and I wish I would say, "Oh, yeah, I'm 1,000% short and smart, and all my academic education and experience would tell me how this ends." I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I just think that the House Republicans are such a volatile, fragmented bunch with such a tiny majority that anything this could either they could all just want this done so badly that they come together, or they could just do what they seem to love to do and create a mountain of drama and drag this thing out. Ah, is there anything that can be done to prevent them from getting the blame whenever this goes into effect in 2028? Yeah, there is. There's a lot that can be done because Democrats aren't going to be blamed for this because polling has already shown that everybody knows Republicans own this. And I think Democrats can reinforce this, and Democrats can run on ending this and reversing it and making it a key part and central part of their congressional campaigns and their White House campaigns. Yeah. I think the only way they get blamed for this is if they go quiet, don't say anything, and then these happen and people go, "Oh, the Democrats are in power. It's all their fault." I think they need to be vocal. That's true. Cajun Blue says that's true. I had not thought about how poorly organized House Republicans are. Poorly organized is one thing. In my personal life, I'm pretty organized in my work life. In my personal life, I'm not organized. I'm sure somewhere my better half is proclaiming that the understatement of the year as she smacks herself on the forehead. But yeah, they're really, really, really unorganized. Um, so that is what might be their downfall. You can never, ever, ever underestimate how poorly organized and run the House Republican majority is. Maria Rose Sweeney, Ruiz Sweeney. Hello, Maria. So, you guys are the red media sphere is what they listen to. Well, that's true, but the people that are locked in and watch most conservative media, you have to remember they're not going to be reached. They're going to go down with the ship here. And I think it was telling that JD Vance put up a tweet or a post on X yesterday where he told people not to focus on Medicaid cuts, but instead focus on immigration. See, they're already trying to distract. Tom, Dems need to be louder. Messages need to be stronger. Let AOC run the messaging. Tom, we're 18 months away from the election. These things kind of ramp up over time. Most voters that they need to vote aren't even paying attention yet. If the messaging is not definitely loud by next summer, then we'll have a problem. Uh, Nicole has joined. Alice De Souza. Hello, Alice. Hi to both of you. Welcome. So keep your eyes open. Don't be afraid to get on the phone, send an email, tell those people who are maybe on the fence about this. Maybe they're just hoping they can sneak by, vote yes, and go under the radar. Make sure that they know they're seen. Okay, we have gone Oh my gosh, we've gone an hour and 20 minutes, but it's a big day. I'm gonna wrap this up because I gotta write something to go with this video and publish it on the daily. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And remember, if you can subscribe, please do so. I'm going to stick around for a couple more minutes here just to put something here in the links for you. And if you have any more last minute questions, we'll be able to see what's going on, and I'll answer a couple more, and we'll see. Let's see here. There we go. This is what I want to put. Here is the subscribe link for the daily. We are happy if you can subscribe. Don't forget to send them a reminder when you're going online. Will, thanks, Will. I will do my best. I'm only giving you guys right now about 25 minutes notice. Yeah, probably need more than that. That is a subscribe link to the daily. If you can do so, please check it out. Subscribe to Politicus USA. I'm going to put that in here on the bottom too, so that you can come in and check this out and see if it works for you. Some is better than none. Yes, I know, Will. I've had a couple where I just had to grab it and go live, and I'm learning as I do this. Hopefully, I will get better at this, and you guys will eventually. I'd love to give you guys like a day's notice in advance. That would be just great, and I think everybody would know what's happening then. So if depending on what's going to happen with the big bad bill, I might be able to get you guys some real notice if we have some heads up on when the vote's going to happen and what goes down afterwards. Okay, here's the subscribe link to Politicus USA. Yeah, we really appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for doing this. This is so hard. I don't know how you do it, Tom says. Thank you. Thank you. I am not, I'm learning. Hopefully, I'm getting better at this. Hopefully, you guys enjoy it because I enjoy talking to you. Deborah Ball, you've just joined. Hey, Deborah, the video is going to be available real soon. We're winding down. Everybody that we're winding down on, I'll have the video will be up real soon. I'll publish it. You'll be able to see it, watch the whole thing. God help you if you do, having to listen to me for an hour and a half almost. This is like filibuster. By the way, Hakeem Jeffries today did not roll out using the magic minute. You guys know what the magic minute is? The magic minute is the minute speech that every majority, minority, and every the top four spots in the House leadership, they each have access to a magic minute. And the magic minute means it's technically a 1 minute speech, but they could speak for as long as they want. That's how Hakeem Jeffries did his long pseudo filibuster speech. Same thing with, remember when Nancy Pelosi spoke for 8 hours on the floor, Speaker? That was a magic minute speech. Hakeem Jeffries today did not rule out using the magic minute and speaking for hours to denounce this bill. He said all options are on the table to stop this bill, to slow down this bill. So be looking for that. Don't be surprised if someday you turn on your cable news or whatever. You know what, Tom? I've been thinking about doing a Q&A where I gather up all your questions, do them as a video. Tom asked, can we send questions for the next one? Yeah. Yeah, you guys, if you want, I will maybe try to set up the chat early for subscribers so you could send your questions in early, or we'll set up a Q&A either on the daily or Politicus where you can submit your questions, and then I'll have them and we can just talk about them in the beginning and work our way through. Um, I hope you guys found this as beneficial as I did. I always learn things coming here talking to you. I hope I was able to help you as well. Dr. Linda Moore and Fly on the Wall, hi, thanks for joining us. Nancy Wetzel and Sylvia Marina Martinez, thank you. Up, Cat Low, don't forget to smash the hearts so more folks see these discussions. I did not know that. In fact, I forgot that. I told you I'm pretty new at this. So everybody, heart away. Put your hearts out there. And we'll so that everybody can see what's going on here and we'll get more people in here. It would be great to have like 1,000 people live that we could talk to, interact with, and spread the word. Again, I really appreciate you. I'm so grateful for all y'all. Y'all are still hitting hearts like crazy. Thank you. Got a lot of hearts going there. That feels good. Juliet and E. Joanne Wyndham. Hello. By the way, this is, I'd say, swear, this is our last call. If you got any questions, we will answer questions here. I'll answer questions for a couple more minutes. Joyati, oh, I'm going to try this. Joyati Ray Chahardi and Tina have joined. Joyati, if I mispronounce your name, I'm so sorry. I think everybody deserves respect and everybody deserves a respectful pronunciation of their name. Um, Claire Davis and Fernando Fletcher. Hello, both of you. Nice to see you. So, if you guys have any final questions, this is it. Like I said, we may end up, depending on how this house vote goes, if it all falls apart, we'll be here. Okay, definitely be here. I'll be here, and I'll give you some notice, and I'm sure y'all will love talking. Oh, yes, Tom just added, yeah, if you give us a heads up, we can invite our friends. Well, yeah, that would be great. Please do invite your friends. I'll be trying to give you much, much, much more notice. Friday is the holiday. I'm assuming everybody has 4th of July plans. I'm also really thinking pretty heavily that we might be talking again before Friday, but in case we don't, be safe. Have a great 4th of July. I am a diabetic and I live in Western Pennsylvania where it's about 8 million degrees. And so the last few years I've been kind of laying off the grilling and barbecuing and stuff because the heat is so intense. Uh, we're gonna spend some family time this 4th of July. Definitely gonna spend some family time, and I hope you guys do. I hope you guys have a good time. Spend it with friends and loved ones. If we don't talk again, I kind of think we will. Maureen Warren has joined. Sonia Levine has joined. Todd Golden has joined. You know what? I really, really, oh, fingers crossed. The BBB goes taco. Tom says. Up, Peter Sikowski with some really cool emojis. By the way, thank you for everybody who participated in the chat, providing information to your fellow readers, chat listeners. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You're making these chats really great. I love the interaction. I love the interactivity. It's a lot of fun. Boy, look at all those hearts. I just looked up at my camera and phone and saw all these hearts flying. That is so wonderful. Up, Kevin L. Uzel has joined. You know, I don't know the names of all the subscribers to the Daily and Politica, should I say, but some of you guys, especially if you comment, I know you. Oh, Peter Sikowski. I remember Peter's name. I've seen your comments. I read all the comments, even the ones I don't have a chance to like interact with directly, because sometimes when things really get popping on some of those threads, there's hundreds of them. Can I make a list of who we should target with calls? Tom asked. I will try. Because we need to figure out how this is shaking out a little bit more, and we'll know more by tomorrow about who is on the fence. So that won't give us much turnaround time, but we will see if I see anything, if I hear anything, if anybody sends me anything that somebody's on the fence, I'll sick them on. I'll sick you guys on. Okay. You guys are great. MJ has joined. Boy, I feel so guilty every time somebody joins. I'm just trying to wrap up. That's why these things go on for like 40 years. Because I just don't want people to be like, man, I just signed on and now he's leaving. Since some more people have joined, if you guys have any questions, Brenda has joined. Wow, people are just picking up left and right. Um, if you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat. We'll be happy to talk about them. I'll be happy to try my best to answer them. But just remember, it's really only 2 House Republican votes. And there's a lot of people who don't like this bill. So it doesn't take much to nudge it over the edge. And just remember, if it is slowed down, if this bill gets slowed down this week, that doesn't mean it's dead. It could come back, and it probably will. So the goal should be making changes. The goal should be not letting this thing that's out there right now become law as it is. But if something does pass eventually, we need to be ready to talk about it and figure out what's next. You have a beautiful soul, Peter Zakowski says. I hope that's I don't know if that's directed to me or not, but if it is, thank you. Um, I appreciate all of you. Sarah appreciates all of you. We'll hopefully get Sarah here to be joining us at some point. Um, it's such an important time in our country, and I'm a big believer in community and togetherness and communitarianism. And we could form our own communities everywhere. And I hope that at Politicus USA and the Daily, we're forming communities where people can join, feel safe, feel open to talk, and not feel so troubled by these times. And know that there is a day and a future ahead. Julie Bertram is here with us. Hi, Julie. So, on that note, oh my goodness, it's almost 7 o'clock. I've almost been going for this is a new record. I've never talked this long on one of these before. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm going to end this right here, right now. And I'll let you know if we're going to get back to this week, depending on how that bill goes. Okay. Thank you. And if you can, please subscribe. Cajun Blue, take care and see you next time. You guys too. Take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and just know that this is a long road ahead, but we're all going down the same path together. Thanks.